these fast fetters? Yea, in fennel stalk, I snatch the hidden spring of stolen fire, which is to men a teacher of all arts, their chief resource. Aeschyle, Prometheus bound. Prometheus came into the world at a time when the earth was still smoldering after the battles of the Titans and the new gods. He grew up not in the noisy fury of his older relatives, but in the silence of observation, carefully watching the order that was emerging from the ruins. Unlike other Titans who valued strength, he was the first to value thought. He saw patterns in every movement of nature and opportunities for development in every creation. Thus, doubts arose in his soul about the omnipotence of Zeus, and even about the nature of power itself. He understood that force could keep the world in fear, but wisdom could change it. Prometheus gradually realized that the new world created by the Olympians left no place for living beings who did not have a voice of their own. Animals wandered in the darkness of their instincts, plants listened to the gusts of wind, and humans, created by the gods without much attention, remained defenseless against the cold, hunger, and nights. Prometheus saw in them something more than weakness. He saw the capacity for knowledge, for gratitude, for creation. This view became the seed of a future rebellion, not yet spoken, but already predetermined. When it came time to distribute gifts among creatures, Prometheus gave animals strength, fur, venom, wings, and claws, but forgot about humans. Humanity was left defenseless, deprived not only of physical superiority, but also of divine support. Prometheus, seeing injustice, allowed himself for the first time a thought that nature itself forbade the Titans to entertain. He could correct the mistake. He viewed humans as fragile vessels that could become greater than expected if filled with the right essence. That is why he gave people the ability to think, taught them symbols, observation, and crafts. In the first gestures of humans, he saw echoes of his own thirst for knowledge. However, this was not enough. Humanity needed a force capable of warming, protecting, and giving independence from the whims of the elements. And then, for the first time, the idea arose in Prometheus's mind that rebellion against Zeus's will might not be a crime, but a necessity. For if the gods had turned away from humans, then perhaps it was the Titan who should become their first teacher and protector. Prometheus watched for a long time as the gods served fire, not just warmth, but a source of creation, a force that could transform chaos into order. Fire was a sacred sign of Olympus's power, a symbol of hierarchy that no one had the right to violate. Prometheus realized that he would be the one to cross that line for the sake of humanity. And he made that choice consciously, preparing for the inevitable retribution. When night covered the heavens, he climbed the sacred mountain and stole the fire from the fiery core of the gods. It was a moment when the entire universe seemed to freeze, sensing that something irreparable had happened. Prometheus knew that this step could not be undone, not because he desired glory, but because he saw the future of humanity in this act. Returning to the people, he gave them fire, and suddenly their eyes lit up with an awareness of their own dignity. And it was then that he realized, now this was no longer just a gift, but the beginning of a new era. Having obtained fire, people learned to change the world to suit themselves, to build dwellings, create tools, bake food, and forge metal. Settlements that had once been hidden in darkness now glowed with nightlights, and this world of human creation began to resemble something that had previously been accessible only to the gods. Prometheus watched with mountainous calm as humanity gradually unlocked its potential, and for the first time in history, he felt true joy at what he had done. But the light of human fires became a clear sign of a violation of heavenly law. Anger arose on Olympus. Zeus saw the development of humans not as a natural course of events, but as a challenge to his own authority. People began to think, invent, and ask questions that the gods did not like. Prometheus's gift suddenly turned into a threat. And although he knew that punishment was inevitable, he felt no regret. Every human hearth reminded him that he had done the right thing. Zeus decided to test humanity by ordering Prometheus to choose which part of the sacrifices the gods would receive. Using cunning, the Titan divided the sacrifice so that the gods got the bones hidden under a layer of fat, and the people got the real meat. Zeus realized the deception, and this moment became the final spark that ignited his wrath. Enraged, he forbade people from using fire, but did not realize that it had already become part of human nature. Prometheus knew that now his actions required not only cunning, but also fortitude. His rebellion had become a principle, and he was prepared to pay any price. At that time, the world was on the verge of a new era, an era that Zeus tried to suppress, but which had already taken root in people's hearts. Prometheus did not abandon humanity even when he felt the first burden of heavenly retribution. Zeus ordered Prometheus to be chained to the rocks of the Caucasus, where the clouds touched the earth and the wind never ceased. The bronze chains chilled his body, but the greatest burden lay not on his flesh, but in the silence between the beating of wings. Every day, an eagle flew down to tear out his liver, and every day it grew back. This pain became an endless cycle, intended as punishment not only for Titan, but for anyone who dared to raise a hand against the will of the gods. But Prometheus did not break. He endured his torment in silence, gazing at the distant human settlements, which now cut through the darkness of the night with their light. Even in his suffering, he saw meaning. His body was bound, but his mind was free. And this resilience earned him respect even among the gods who feared Zeus's wrath. Despite their fear of Zeus's power, not everyone on Olympus could remain indifferent to Prometheus's suffering. Some gods and even nymphs looked at the chained Titan with sadness, realizing that he was suffering not for his pride, but for his devotion to humanity. And although no one dared to approach him openly, their sympathy became a prerequisite for someone one day taking a stand against the will of the Thunderer. And so hope came into the world. It was quiet, hidden beneath the whisper of the wind. But Prometheus could feel it. He knew that his story was not yet complete. In bitter solitude, he continued to believe that one day a hero would appear who would break the chains not out of pity, but out of an understanding that freedom is a gift worth sharing. When Hercules, son of Zeus, but born as a protector of humans, arrived, the world seemed to once again approach the point where destinies are decided. He broke the chains of the Titan and killed the eagle, putting an end to endless suffering. This act was not only an act of mercy, but also a sign that even the power of the gods is subject to review if it contradicts justice. Prometheus, freed after centuries of torment, did not ask for rewards or demand revenge. His gaze was directed at the people who, thanks to fire, became the creators of their own world. He knew that his story would become a symbol of defiance for the sake of good, a symbol of sacrifice that turns into light. And even as eras changed and gods faded into legends, Prometheus' fire continued to burn in the hearts of humanity, reminding us that freedom begins where someone dares to light a spark.